112 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic, welcome to week number 2 of Star Wars month. This week we are going back, like George Lucas, and doing or actually kind of like DC, and doing an Ultimate Edition version of the Force Awakens review. But on top of that, we actually went back and listened to ourselves review the Force Awakens the very first time. So we are actually, not only are we going to shit that we do always shit on DC movies, but or DCEU movies, but we're gonna shit on ourselves tonight.
It sounded like a bad, book report. It wasn't even really a review. It was just
This is the one where in like second grade you do your first book report, and that kid is just rambling the fuck on and on and on and on, and you're sitting in the back of the class like, I don't give a shit. This is what book reports are. I hate book reports. Book reports are the worst thing ever.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like, 3-parter, like over 2.5 hours of just us going on and on about.
Yeah, it was our we'll get into that right after. Let's go over the boring stuff for the Force Awakens. So, as we always do, we always go over the movie reviews, and that is at 93%.
Okay.
2 years later from on Rotten Tomatoes, 93%. 378 reviews counted for this movie. So only 28 people said that they did not like it at all.
So what do you think of that rating now? What would you rate it now? Now that we've had 2
I think
years
we gave
to
it.
sit on it.
Well, we actually the review was so old that we never even had a rating system for the back then. I think briefly I said like I would give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Right.
I think I'd probably take a half a star away. This on multiple viewings in 2 years and looking at the movie for what it is. Probably 3.5 I would go with now.
Yeah.
But we can go into that part later as well, because we'll critique ourselves first. We'll shit on ourselves first.
I give ourselves 1 star.
And then, well, you just spoiled it. But anyway.
I know.
So let's see the boring stuff. This movie cost about $245 million to make.
Okay.
It domestically grossed $936 million, so just a little bit short of $1 billion.
Wow.
Just a little short. And then overseas, it made 1.13 billion. Right? No, million.
What?
Billion. I'm reading this like Bruce Wayne reads fucking fractions.
You right now?
Pretty stoned.
Okay,
but
so
I'm reading this like Bruce Wayne reads fractions.
It was the third highest grossest movie of all time worldwide, behind Titanic and Avatar. So.
Yeah, but Titanic has 2 or 3. I actually think they even released it again this weekend or something like that. Like
they did, because it's the 20-year anniversary of it right now.
Oh yeah, so like they just keep fucking releasing that movie. I feel like they're fucking cheating.
They're like, we don't want it. Someone's creeping up on us. We don't want this. Yeah. So like in 10 years, or no, not 10 years, but in 8 years, it'll be the 10-year anniversary of Force Awakens. They'll re-release that.
Yeah, but I still don't think like it'll make as much money as Avatar. Don't forget Avatar 2 and 3 are coming out soon. So like that's like when that movie comes out, can you imagine like what that's going to look like? Because the first one was gorgeous on IMAX. Anyway, let's get back to The Force Awakens, because we got a lot of dumb shit to talk about ourselves.
Well, first off, like when we started the podcast, that was our very first podcast ever.
Yeah, and we had like a 40-minute intro.
It had a long intro talking about how we met each other and how our love for Star Wars and all that good stuff. Totally gay for each other. For Star Wars, and how we stood in that stupid line trying to get merchandise at the Celebration 3, and ended up hanging out and joking about our situation, and then just like hanging out all over the convention, like hey,
every single day was that.
Oh yeah, I was like, hey man, can you wait in this line for me? I'm gonna go look at shit. I'm like, all right, and then we'd switch, which is like the way to do it, honestly, so you're not bored to death standing in line forever. Also, do you remember, I remember Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill were there, I think, signing autographs, or maybe it was just Carrie Fisher, and the line was like,
I don't remember, so
damn long that I was like, I'm not standing in that, because it was something like a 4-hour wait, and you'd even guaranteed it, like her hand probably would have been tired, like by the time they got 300 in, and you're like, damn it.
It was a lot different back then too. I mean, it was still packed. It was still big, but nowhere near Celebration 7.
No, and the cost of everything went straight up too after that.
Yeah, they did.
Just fucking crazy.
All right, so we did that for about 20 to 30 minutes on cell phones. We thought that was a good idea too. So right off the bat, we sound like shit. And the second thing is you're walking around your house back and forth, so you're actually pacing for like fucking 2.5 hours, which is crazy.
And you're laying
and
down.
I'm laying down, and you can actually hear it. I think at one point I might have dozed off while you were talking or something. The fucking that episode was so long, over almost 3 hours. That episode 1 was. I think we released it in 3 parts.
Right, and
talking about one thing.
And we recorded it like 2 days after the movie came out, but we couldn't release it until like 2 or 3 weeks because we didn't know how to do it. We're like, how do we work iTunes? I don't understand.
No, we didn't even do that first. We remember our first episodes were released on YouTube.
That's even worse.
And this is, what number are we on? We're in episode 112.
Yeah.
How the hell did we get here?
I don't know.
Those aren't humble beginnings. Humble beginnings is like, you just, I don't know, they're humble. There's nothing humble about how we tried to do this at first.
No.
It could not have been like the cheapest. It couldn't have been any more cheaper of how we were trying to do this.
Literally, what the cell phone audio recorder was like $10. I think that's what we
for
spent.
the year.
That was
For the year,
Yeah, for
it
the
was just
year.
an app download. It was an app download. We're like, oh, we're gonna get a shit ton of listeners just by spending $10 and a YouTube channel for a fucking podcast. For a podcast, we were gonna release it on YouTube, and that was the only way you were gonna be able to hear
We're gonna be
it.
the biggest thing ever.
Yeah, we're gonna be bigger than Kevin Smith. Our cell phone recordings and our YouTube channel.
We didn't have anything. No Facebook, no Instagram, no email. We had nothing.
No, we didn't have anything. I think it took us like 9 episodes just to get recording equipment.
Yeah,
and it took us probably another 2 episodes to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, yeah. Because the first time we used it,
Mine wasn't right.
Mine wasn't right either. We had to record again like the next night. It was so miserable. We're like, we got to talk about this shit again. Yeah, that's too funny.
So right off the bat, equipment-wise and production value was really low when we started off 112 episodes ago. And then we're like, we'll just talk about Star Wars for 2.5 hours. Like, yeah, everybody will love it. We'll go so in depth.
It's so unnatural. I sounded so like, some of it I sounded kind of excited, and other parts of it I'm just literally like, So then Leia did the thing, and then she went over here, and nobody listened.
We literally
like,
broke down the entire movie. That's why
did.
it was 2.5 hours long.
We did. And in certain,
you know that human encyclopedia of Pablo, I think his name is, right?
Yeah, Pablo Hidalgo.
If he listened to our podcast, he'd be like, God, this is really
5 minutes in.
This is really long in the tooth. You guys got to stop.
He's like, well, listen to the beginning, and then listen to the end. Like,
or what we normally did last year, or what was it last year? We would just tell people just to skip like the first 20 episodes.
We did, yeah, we did. It was like skip the first like 6 or 7. I remember a friend of mine was like, he was listening to the podcast, and like 6, 7 in, he's like, "Are you guys ever gonna like fix this audio issue?" And then I'm like, "Just wait to the next one." And then all of a sudden, he's like, "All right, that's better," Because
intros was terrible too. We would take turns doing the intro, and I felt like it looked like I was like on public access. It sounded like I was on public access,
on NPR or something.
Yeah,
like see, I'm more like theatrical, and you're like, so this is
this
is our eighth one, and it's chew on this, nurge something or other. And anyway, here we go. I was like, oh my God. Okay, I'm taking this shit over.
And then still not being able to find your quote unquote like radio voice.
Right.
Which is really funny because I used to perform on stage too. So you would think I would know how to speak in a microphone with nobody around.
You're like Ron Burgundy with your hands up in the air. I don't know what to do.
That's not Ron Burgundy. That's Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby, right. I don't know what to do. Shit. Still Will Ferrell. Yeah.
Anchorman would have been Ron Burgundy would have been
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the Force Awakens review.
Yeah. Hey, are you Star Trek fans? Go fuck yourself. Oh shit, I didn't write that. BJ, damn you.
Yeah, that would be Ron Burgundy.
Yeah,
So anyway,
totally.
if you're still with us from episode 1, thank you.
Thank you. Give us money.
We should pay you for staying this long with us.
Yeah,
112 episodes in, especially the first 6 being on cell phones. I used to, after that, I was like, after we heard the first episode, you were like, you can't lay down on your bed anymore and do this podcast.
Like I knew
So instead,
I knew it
so
when you were.
yeah. So instead, you know what I did?
What?
And you know this too, but I completely forgot about it till now. I must have like mentally blocked it out. I went from going in the bed and laying down to in my car and recording in my car because I could charge it at the same time. Do you know how many times neighbors would like walk down the street at like 9 o'clock at night and figure out why I was still in my car for an hour talking on the phone?
I thought you were getting a blowy from like a hooker or something.
So retarded. I'm literally and me actually saying like I'm just talking to my family like overseas or whatever would have been better than telling them I'm recording a podcast over my phone in my driveway in the car.
You're
Like whatever story they were coming up with in their own heads was better than telling them the truth.
You're like, I'm really stalking this family. I'm not.
Yeah.
They're like,
It doesn't matter what story they came up with. It still would have been better if I told them I'm recording a podcast on my cell phone.
I'm talking about Evil Dead on the cell phone.
Hey, Evil Dead. That's right. That was one of the episodes. Oh, that's great.
Listen to it on Monday.
Yeah, and then I used to record in my garage.
Yeah.
Which means I think if you listen really closely to some of the first episodes where we got the equipment, you can maybe hear my neighbors partying across the street. So you would think like I was doing this in a club or something.
You're like production value.
Yeah. Thought I was podcasting from like a club like Kevin Smith does.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nope, just my garage and my neighbors were drunk.
Oh, my wife just turned on the car. Get out of here.
The garage door is about to open. Fuck. Could you imagine if that happened? Could you imagine if like I'm fucking in the middle of a podcast and the garage door opens and you're driving by, right? You're driving by because somebody just opened the garage door and you just happen to be driving by and all of a sudden you see this guy sitting on a table in the middle of the garage talking into a microphone and a laptop.
That's horrible.
Just imagine that. Imagine that you see that late at night.
Oh no, it's like one of those conspiracy theorists and shit. Got to keep an eye on that guy.
He was a spy. He was a spy. He was saying shit back to China.
He's bugged. He's like, I wonder if all
terrorist.
Our houses are bugged and shit.
He's a fucking terrorist. I saw him talking on the microphone. He must have been sending like signals in Morse code back.
He was saying like, chew on this, and what does that mean?
I was like, I don't know what that is. That must have been code for bombing America. I have no idea.
Yeah,
fucking CIA shows up to my house.
Yeah, they're I got a YouTube channel.
And then it's like, no. And they're like, so do you have a really good explanation other than the fact that you're a terrorist? And I'm like, what's the alternative? Telling them that I'm podcasting? I'm like, I'm a terrorist. Arrest me now.
Oh, God.
Anyway, The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So it's shitty production value. Again, thank you if you're still with us after 112 episodes,
Yep.
with probably the first 20 being really shitty.
We had some good ones in there. I think the first like 8 or 9 were kind of slow going.
And yeah, well, when you're on your cell phone in the car or on the bed laying down.
I actually have to go back. Like I listened to the first 3. Now I'm like, oh man, like I need to go back and listen to the rest until I want to see the value
progression,
the value go up. Yeah,
well,
production.
I'm just thinking about another podcast that we did, the Alan Rickman one. Do you remember that one?
Yeah,
that's fucking painful. That's painful to listen to.
Down for that.
That's fucking painful. We did no justice. We thought we were paying respects to Alan Rickman. We fucking shit on his legacy by doing that podcast.
Yeah. I know, poor Alan Rickman guy.
Yeah, good thing nobody listens to us from that family. Otherwise, they'd be pissed.
Yeah, they're like, this is dreary.
That was not. Yeah, that was not.
This is not good.
Alan Rickman would not like this at all.
By Grathar's hammer.
Yeah.
We smite
Like
you.
Krathbar's hammer, this is bullshit.
Oh my god, it's awesome.
All right, so the Force Awakens.
So you know, do you remember? So I don't know. It was like, well, first of all, when we were at Celebration 7 and we saw the actual trailer for it, not the teaser was like
Yes,
came
yeah.
out. The teaser came out the day after Thanksgiving of like 2014. I remember that, and I remember going like, this looks weird. You know, I didn't really dig the teaser all that much. And then when that trailer came out, though, I remember us just like crying, grown men like crying in that little theater there. And then we made them, and then like we watched the whole thing and then made them play it again. They're like, oh, play it again, play it again.
They played it back to back, and then they played it at the end again.
Yeah, and then like we cried again. We were all
Yeah,
like,
the just seeing, because if you can remember out there the trailer, the actual official trailer, it opens with Vader's melted mask, and you're like, oh, that's from fucking Endor.
and it's Luke.
Somebody went back on Endor,
and they had
you know?
Mark Campbell re-record those lines.
Right? But they were altered a little bit, and you're like,
Yes.
oh shit.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, that started it. That started the entire trailer for me, and then of course ending with Han Solo on the Falcon.
Yeah, Chewie, we're home. Holy shit! I mean, that was still gives me goosebumps when I watch that trailer. I still remember exactly how I felt when I saw that. And I was like, oh shit! I think they did it. I think
Yeah,
they fucking did it.
as hungover as we were, for those 2.5 minutes every time the trailer played, those first 3 times, I couldn't care that I wanted to shit myself.
I was so nauseous and everything, and that trailer just like came out, and
I was worse off than you, but like really bad.
I think I felt.
Dude, I used the fucking concrete to cool my face.
So did I. I remember that.
It was in the basement of the convention center.
That was another. That's like, it's so funny because that's just like one time in your life where you just don't care what people think or what people are doing.
Oh, I didn't care at all.
Didn't care at anything.
You had to be there. Like there was no way you're not going to be there, no matter how fucking hungover we were.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so, but you know, we barely made it there. We fucking missed it.
My alarm went off at 4:30, and I just turned it back off. I was like, I'm fucking getting up. There's no way, because we had like 3 hours of sleep at that point. You know, and then I let it go to like 6, and then we like rushed over there.
Yeah, but if we actually woke up at 4:30, we would have been in the fucking auditorium for the panel.
We would have been with JJ and everybody. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh well.
I don't regret it.
Doesn't matter.
It was awesome. It was a great
It's
story.
a great story. Yeah, exactly. What'd you do at Celebration 7? We fucking got blitzed the night before and missed JJ.
That's not even the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life, but it was pretty,
no.
It was pretty awesome though.
But still being in that atmosphere with all the other Star Wars fans watching the trailer for the first time, it was great. So fast forward like a year later when the movie actually comes out, and we watch it, and my initial reaction was I loved it because it brought me back to what Star Wars felt like.
Yes.
Again, the prequels, not to always bring up the prequels when you bring up Star Wars, but it's hard not to when you talk about The Force Awakens. It's because the episodes 1, 2, and 3 just didn't feel like Star Wars. So much CG, nothing. There's an actual actor that plays like one of the clone for the actual Clone Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
For some fucking reason, George Lucas decided to CG every single clone in every single movie.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
So everything is CG'd. So like you just spent all this time just like CGing these characters and money, and you can see it looks really fake. And then it's one of the reasons why the movie looks so terrible. Like he's CGing rooms where you could just actually build the fucking room.
Right. Yeah, he decided that it was better to control every single piece of the environment by doing it digitally, which, you know, I don't know if I've seen like documentaries on that movie where he's sitting in the theater and he's like pointing at the screen and he's like, hey, pick up that battle droid and put him over there, and pick up that piece and put it over there. Like he was able to manipulate everything because they made everything digitally. But that's not, I mean, but then the focus was away from the story, and the focus was away from getting the best acting you possibly could. And I'm sorry, like the acting was horrible. Like I went back and
Yeah.
watched it. It's terrible. I mean, the only one that's really seems to be doing anything is Liam Neeson at first, and then as the time went on, Obi-Wan was doing his thing. But
But
really,
he had some pretty bad lines too.
Obi-Wan's chops, like acting chops, really didn't hit until the end of Revenge of the Sith when he's like screaming at him like, "You were my brother," and I felt that, But the rest of the movies,
Yeah, and
didn't feel
Ewan
anything.
McGregor can act. That's the thing, is that guy he's got acting chops. And this is what happens when you just got a bad director. There's things in there, like one of the worst line ever in all, well, there's a couple worst lines, but the one that sticks out the most for Ewan McGregor in the prequels is when he drops down to greet
Oh
Grievous,
yeah,
and he's like, "Hello." And I'm like, "What?"
he goes, "Hello there."
Yeah, that's right. "Hello there." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you? What is this?"
He was trying
Like,
to.
he would never do
I
that.
think he was trying to mimic. They were trying to. Everything's always like parallelism. There's always like this parallelism going on, but like he
Right.
said that to R2, didn't he? When he was in the cave in New Hope, he's like, "Oh, hello there."
Yes. Yeah.
So I was like,
But
"Oh, Jesus."
that was completely different and out of place in
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith.
He jumps down in the middle of all those clones, all
Yeah.
the not the
I'm
clones,
like, well,
the robots and Grievous.
this is something Anakin would do, not Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed really out of place. And the two-finger stance, I'm not sure
And
what
he's
that
all
was
smiling. He's all smiling.
about. Yeah, I really didn't like that Obi-Wan.
Didn't they use that stance in Rebels when he beat Darth Maul for the last time? I think they used
No, I don't
that
think
stance.
so. Did he?
I think
Oh,
so.
wow. Hmm.
I don't know.
That was a good scene though.
Yeah,
But
it
anyway,
was.
so the Force Awakens, they went back to as much practical effects as they possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
If they needed to blow up something, they'd use chargers or something, and then they digitally enhance it. All the special effects were either needed or accompanied real life sets. That's the one thing that they wanted to make sure that it looked like Star Wars.
Yes.
The problem was that it looked so much like Star Wars that the story and everything really is Star Wars, A New Hope, before it became A New Hope, mixed in with some other parts of the trilogy in there. But overall, it's a bunch of it's the Resistance going against the Order, the Rebels going against the Empire, and then they're trying to stop like a giant sphere, a giant base planet,
Right.
and that's basically all you need. That's the whole movie right there. If those three things right there, it's the same thing as A New Hope.
And the bad guys are always rich, like always super rich. They have just so much technology, and the Resistance are a bunch of poor bastards.
Yeah, in this one, that's the one thing that bothered me, is that they're the Resistance, but they're the good guys. The whole Republic is the power now,
Mm-hmm.
and still somehow the Order is still more powerful than the good guys somehow.
I didn't get that either. I wish there was more backstory about that, like how they rose to power again.
Well, the Republic is still the governing body of the galaxy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they should essentially still be more powerful, because in the original trilogy, the Empire was the governing body of the galaxy, and it made sense that they had more troops. They were always outnumbering the rebels. Well, why does it look like the Resistance has less people than the actual rebellion did?
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be the governing power now. What are they resisting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm
Wouldn't
not
that just
sure.
be the army?
Yeah, because when so when the Empire, when the second Death Star blows up, there's still the Empire, like their presence is still on every planet. But I thought, I mean, I haven't really read the Aftermath series or anything, but I kind of figured there were still minor skirmishes everywhere. Like on Jakku, that's why you see all the Star Destroyer and the X-Wings and all that. And then they kind of pushed the Empire back away. And then they just kind of I don't know, regrouped. And instead of like the Resistance or the Rebellion, whatever, putting a nail in their coffin, they just kind of just pushed them away and then went about their business. And the First Order just kind of grew. But the differences in the First Order and the Empire is that the First Order, they just didn't seem to oh, it's just there's this faction called the New Order. Like, cool, just stay over there. Don't mess with us or whatever. And they just grew and grew, and then they just started fighting against them. It's like, hello, like they didn't do anything against them
Right.
at all until the threat was real, And so That kind of bothered me
But
too.
even then, it's not the government saying like, "Oh shit, the new order is actually real," and
Yeah.
then sending help. It's still the resistance saying like, "Hey, fuckers, like, look at the new order. We just blew up their battle station
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Like,
we
send
have
help."
we have I mean, we have all these planets now, and we got the Republic back. Like, where are you guys? Like,
Not to
come on.
mention the new order just blew up the fucking Senate. So send
Again.
fucking help.
Yeah.
If you need any more facts that the new order is real, the government is dead. Send help.
The government's dead.
Well, basically, I mean, they blew up the fucking Senate.
Yeah. I don't know. And then so you got Snoke, has got to be on his own base somewhere on his own planet where the rest of
his
First Order is.
his story is still like completely mysterious, like because the name doesn't tell you anything, right? Because when you hear the Emperor mentioned early on before you ever see him in Empire, you know that the Emperor is above Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin because his name is the Emperor.
Right. And the Sith have been gone for like a millennia, like 1,000 years. And
Right. But the name alone,
yeah.
Emperor, you knew who he was and what he was doing. You knew that this was the government, the Empire was the government, and there was an Emperor. And you knew the Emperor was governing the Empire.
Right. We don't know who this guy
you
is.
kind of guess Snoke is running the First Order, even though the First Order, and even though it's never said. But at the same time, it's like, who the fuck is he? The name tells me nothing.
It doesn't tell you anything, but at the same time, it kind of does because their parallelism. They're copying the New Hope because you got the Emperor, you've got Kylo Ren as the Darth Vader, and Hux is like the Tarkin essentially.
Well, he's literally wanting to be Darth Vader.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Which to me, I don't know. I'm just like, you're no Darth Vader.
You have better hair than Darth Vader did, though.
Yeah, I knew John F. Kennedy, and you're no John F. Kennedy. You're like, I knew Darth Vader. You're no Darth Vader. Yeah, supposedly, also, I mean, I've read some tidbits about Snoke that he's been around for a long time, like even when the Emperor was in power. Like he was just kind of like just hiding out. So,
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in The Last Jedi. That's when this releases. It'll be Monday, so 3 more days till The Last Jedi. And if you're listening to this and you didn't see the Facebook and the Twitter post this weekend, we're going to be going on social media hiatus until we see the Last Jedi.
yeah, the embargo. Well, by the time this drops, the embargo on the reviews will be revealed. Had already been revealed, and we're just I want to.
I don't even want to know the review. Yeah,
I don't either. We didn't even know the review of the Force Awakens until after we got out of the movies.
yeah,
We didn't look at the RT ratings or.
yeah. We didn't even want the ratings to spoil how we would feel. We wanted to go into fresh.
Not only that, but we wanted the first podcast to be so fresh that when we both saw the movie together, when the movie was done, we just nodded at each other and just left.
We didn't even say
talk.
like we liked it.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about it. We didn't even know how one another felt about the movie. Nothing. Just went home, and then like 2 days later, we recorded it. And that was really interesting.
Yeah, because it was like I was talking to everybody else, and you came up and you're like, "All right, I'm gonna go." I'm like, "Yeah, shut up, go."
Yeah, and like all your friends probably thought, "What a prick! He didn't even like hang out and talk to you."
Dude, the guy just drive down and just to watch the movie. Like he used you for tickets or something.
Well,
So
this is
we'll
gonna be
probably have to
different,
do.
We'll
Well,
get to
you're gonna be in
review
a
it.
different. You're gonna be in a different car, so we'll review it the night of. We won't have to
Which
wait.
is going to be awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Anyway,
off-
so
fresh out
so
movies.
no social media. So no social media for the next 4 days until we see the Force Awakens.
Yeah, I might. I might do a little.
I mean, sorry, not the Force Awakens, the Last Jedi.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't even think we're going to do Instagram, are we? This week, I think we'll just stay off everything.
Well, we'll have to
Twitter,
post
too.
a pod. Well, this podcast will get posted. You'll post that Instagram, and then that's it.
Yeah, stay off of it. Yeah,
So
they already put some stuff online. We were just talking about that earlier. We won't.
Oh, the
I
TV
won't say it-
spots?
I won't say it here, but yeah, the TV spot, and they showed a couple of things that we were just.
it's
like,
not
oh
really
my
a
God.
spoiler.
It's not a
It's
spoiler,
not really.
but
It's
it's
just
like
something I just didn't want to see.
yeah, it's fucking cool what I saw. But at the same time, I was like, why? Like, why didn't you? That would have made me just get out of my chair. in the theater if I saw that.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty badass. Again, it's not a spoiler because it's Disney and Star Wars releasing it to the public as a TV spot. So as far as spoilers go, it's not a spoiler, but it was still a cool scene. And
It's like a
I've
split second. Like if you
yeah,
blinked, you would have missed it.
I've been trying to avoid even just the TV spots. So that's why we're going off social media
Yeah.
until the Last Jedi is done. So anyway, so back to the Force Awakens.
Yes.
So that was your initial reaction. I think mine was the same, in the sense that like it felt like Star Wars, but at the end of the day, it still reminds me too much of A New Hope. The beats are so much alike. The ending, the actual reasoning for them, the Star Killer base is again just a bigger Death Star.
Yeah.
They just they just made it 4 times bigger somehow, right? They made it 4 times bigger, but it's still A New Hope. They still actually fly down a trench.
And I thought to myself, I was just like, what if the First Order actually like they were able to get that shot off and they blew up the planet that the Resistance was on, but the Resistance like got off the planet. Like there's something different, like, oh, we're gonna go down the trench and blow this thing up again.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, that they didn't fucking learn anything. The whoever designed the Star Killer base still didn't learn anything from all the Death Stars that was blown up. Don't make a fucking long ass trench to the thing that protects your planet or your base. Why don't you build a shield generator inside the planet and then cover it with a shit ton of concrete so that they can't fly in X-wings?
Well,
you got beat by 4 people on the ground and like 6 X-wings.
You had so many troops too. They literally could have.
Yeah, where the fuck were they?
They could have shot up into the air and they would have hit an X-wing.
Remember that speech that Hux was giving?
Which honestly, I still stick to my guns. That was the worst scene in the movie.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Because
do you remember how many like TIE fighters were there?
There was tons. There was thousands of troops. I mean, thousands.
I don't know how you lose again. This is worse than losing to the Ewoks, because at least there was a lot of Ewoks and you were on their turf.
Right. Yeah, all they had to do was just shoot in the air. They would have knocked some X-wings down. I mean, they were pretty. They don't even send
fucking ridiculous.
They didn't even send that many. I know. Now that we think about it, it's like, oh my god. The same thing like on Jakku. They're like, hey, go send some troopers down to pick up that droid, and they send 2 guys down and like 2 TIE
and then 2 TIE fighters. Yeah,
and that was it. And I was like,
I mean, that's the map to Luke Skywalker, and you send like essentially like 6 guys. 6 guys, and stormtroopers are notorious for fucking missing shots. This movie is all about the First Order not learning anything
even
from the Empire.
The TIE fighters missed too.
I mean, you got beat by a girl that's never a woman who's never flown anything before.
Yeah.
Who's like cannons weren't working at one point, and you still fucking lost.
I flipped it upside down. That sounds pretty cool. So that was another thing that I actually really loved about this movie, is that you could tell JJ was just a tremendous fan, and you can tell that he was like, oh, I wonder what this would look like, or I've always wanted to see this. And like the way they flew the Falcon was really cool. The way they used the Force was different than what we've seen before. I want to see more
that
of
scene. That scene in the trailer where the Falcon flies upwards and then back towards the screen.
Yeah,
that's like something that I did with my Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, for sure.
Like something like that you never saw in the movie because it was very hard. So there's that funny like Family Guy episode when he's like, oh, look, he's doing all those maneuvers. It's like, what do you mean? He just moved up and to the left. Right? So, but you didn't do that when you were playing with the Millennium Falcon. You did all these fucking cool turns and figure eights and shit. And that's that shot right there. That's exactly what you did with your toys. So, yeah, to be able to, play in that play box like you were at home playing with toys.
And plus, there wasn't any space battles. It was all done on land. So that was different.
Yeah, again. That was like basically Battlefront.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is there no things in space? And for space battles, I have to pay $35 for it. Fuck you guys.
Yep. Thanks, Disney.
Disney's going to pull their contract.
Yeah, we love Disney, though. Yeah, that was... I mean, there was things about the movie that I absolutely loved. I mean, There was some certain scenes in it that made me jump in and out of my seat. There were, times where some of the characters interacted with other characters' weapons, or did something that you're just like, oh shit, that's right. Anybody could pick up a lightsaber. I didn't really think about that. Like there was just really some really cool things that they did in there that, like, you have your standard rules about Star Wars, but within that playground, you can play a little bit with
Right.
some of the stuff, and that's exactly what he did. It's like he created, like, they had like these boundaries that they had to play within, and then within that they're like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. Like Kylo Ren stops a lightning bolt with the Force and holds it there for God knows how long, and then lets it go, and it's fucking cool because, like, even like Poe is looking at the laser bolt going, holy shit,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that.
It's you. That's something that it makes sense within the Force, but
Yeah.
you've never seen it on screen before.
Yeah.
I even said it when we reviewed the Force Awakens. I'm going to say it again. In the Phantom Menace, the coolest scene is when Qui-Gon Jinn pulls the lightsaber and pushes it right through the metal, and like, oh shit, I've never
Yeah.
seen that before. But it makes complete sense that a lightsaber would be able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's still like a great scene in that movie. But so JJ did some of those things too. My favorite scene in the entire movie is when, towards the end, spoilers, I don't even know why you're listening, or a Star Wars fan, when Rey force pulls the lightsaber away from Kylo Ren on Starkiller Base, and it goes into her hands, and the great John Williams comes in with his little
God.
theme.
Goosebumps, man.
Yeah, I remember that scene, and I
Fucking
almost cried.
goosebumps.
I almost,
Yeah.
because I have girls, or at that point I only had one girl, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, it meant so much to me that I was like, oh my God, my daughter's gonna grow up with a woman being the most powerful person in the galaxy. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That was my favorite scene. I think Goosebumps went away after 15 viewings of that scene, because I would actually just go onto my iTunes and just play it and just to watch that scene.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely. No, that whole thing is great. But there is like these minor, little plot hole things, or WTF
Conveniences,
moments.
we called them.
Yeah, we called them like coincidences and conveniences. But again, like the Force also works in mysterious ways. So I mean, you have to kind of give the benefit of the doubt. But there were certain things, like at the end, Kylo Ren is like injured, and he goes a great distance and ends up being in front of Finn and Rey, even though they're way ahead of him.
Right.
It was like, I think I said on the
And
podcast,
shot.
it was like on the podcast I said it was like a Friday the 13th moment where Jason's lumbering through the forest after you, and then he ends up in front of you, even though you're hauling ass,
Yeah.
and he still like magically appears in front of you. But still, I mean, that scene still holds up pretty good, and I'm actually really looking forward to her training with Luke and showing her progression. And then of course,
God.
then you have, I almost feel like Last Jedi is going to be almost like Rocky 4. Like, Luke is going to be training Rey, and then like Snoke is going to be training, Kylo or Drago.
Oh, fuck. You just ruined The Last Jedi for me.
If Rey goes to the top of Skellig Island or Octo and goes Drago, or Kylo,
Or Kylo.
I just gotta go shit.
There is a 360 shot of that island.
Yeah, and then I'm
That
like,
will
I'm gonna
remind
look
you of
over to my
Drago.
left, and I'm like, where'd Vic go? And I'm like, his friend's like, he said this is bullshit, and left.
Or I'm just gonna start playing the Rocky montage theme song from Rocky 4.
It's the Eye of the Tiger.
No. It's just a
Go,
instrumental montage when Drago's getting steroids and shit.
You see
Kylo Ren's gonna get roided up.
up.
He's gonna get roided. He's gonna get injected with midi-chlorians.
I got 30,000 now. I got more than Yoda, bitch.
That's great.
He's
it's
like
fucking
hitting
HGH.
He's like hitting the. He's like using the force, and the pound per pound inch is like going up.
As he's doing the indoor laps, he's lifting rocks
Yeah, exactly.
and balancing them.
Tossing them.
Balancing them.
Oh my god, how pissed off would you be? You're like, wait.
And then Ray is dragging around dragging around Luke Skywalker on like a sled. And then the next scene is next scene you see Luke, Chewie, and R2 sitting in a wagon, and Ray's got to push press it.
Oh yeah,
like push it above his shoulders.
Right.
Remember? So she's got to push it above her shoulders, and then she screams. But she doesn't scream like normal. She screams, and then her lips move over to the right like Rocky does. With the speech impediment. That would be fucking awesome.
She's like,
yeah.
Oh my
and then
God.
like R2D2's following her while she's jogging around Octo, the island, just like the Russians were following Rocky.
Yeah,
and then towards the end of towards the end of the montage, she like fakes one way and then like fakes the other way, and then like R2 falls over and he loses her, and then she's just running because it's towards the end of the montage,
right?
And she's running all the way to the very top of the mountain, and then she shouts out Kylo like 4 times.
Like instead of just like, I'm out, I'm done.
Like they jumped the shark. They jumped the shark. Mark Hamill was right. He had no idea this was coming. He had no idea this was the direction they were going to take.
See the look on his face. He's just like, I don't like this. He's like shaking his head. Ryan Johnson's like, come on, just go with it. This is awesome.
It's great.
Like one of my favorite movies mashed up together with this movie. He's like, we had a guest director, we had the Creed director.
Oh wait. What if like the final lightsaber? What if like the lightsaber battle between Luke and Kylo Ren on Octo is more like over the top? Because Rian Johnson's just not he's not only a
huge
Rocky
Stallone fan.
Yeah, he's just a huge Stallone fan. So before, you know how like Sylvester Stallone switches his hat from front to back?
Yeah.
Kylo Ren's gonna do the same thing with his helmet.
I can't see out of this thing.
He's like, it's like a switch.
Yeah.
What are the Stallone movies are there that we can blame here? What about
Judge
and
Dredd? Ray's like, I am the law. Come on.
Right. That's what Kylo Ren says, because in this version he's Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, right.
Right. And then his mom comes, and then it's Carrie Fisher showing up. Right. It's General Leia showing up, like, because again he's Kylo Ren, Sylvester Stallone. Now it's like don't stop or my mom will shoot.
She's a Stell Getty. Oh, God. I can just see Ryan just like all smiling. He's like, "This is gonna be
he's like,
so
this is
awesome.
the best thing ever."
There's gonna be so many people coming to watch this movie. And there's Stallone, like they interview Stallone. They're like, "What'd you think?" He's like, "It was pretty good. Like, I really like this movie."
The DCEU is like, "Oh man, Martha, people are gonna love it, right?" And then Rian Johnson's like, "Hold my beer." I'll make the last Jedi fucking Rocky. I'll make it. I'll make it.
So like Kylo puts like a bandana around his head, and he's like,
"That's Rambo."
I gotta save Hux. He's a POW. I gotta go in there and get him out.
Oh my God!
He like
that would
rips his shirt off. He's just.
I don't
jacked.
think I would be able to walk out of that movie. I think I would have to see it through to the end.
Because the thing is, if it was such a train wreck like that, you couldn't leave. You'd have to watch
Yeah,
the whole thing.
yeah. It can't be in the middle.
Right.
Like you
right.
can't see potential in the movie at all. Like it can't be Justice League where you see potential. It has to be just a raging pile of shit. Like 100% pile of shit.
The lights come up and everyone's
Like
like
even
baffled.
like even the opening crawl, it has like is spelled the way Sylvester Stallone will say it. And you're like, what's going on here?
We're trading Ray on the Octo.
And there's like the opening montage. There's the opening montage like in Rocky 3, where he's just beating up a bunch of fucking guys.
Kylo's like, you're greedy and lazy.
Snoke is Mick.
Cut me, Mick. Cut me. Ray like beats the shit out of him. His eyes are all puffy.
Because you know how Mickey
Mick.
always wore that the yellow jacket.
Yeah,
well, Snoke is in that golden fucking yellow cloak.
Oh, he just needs a beanie.
Yeah, he does.
Cut me, Mick. I gotta win.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, Jesus.
That's so good. The Last Jedi is now completely ruined for me. It's completely ruined. When the opening crawl comes up and the Star Wars themes plays, all I'm going to hear is fucking Eye of the Tiger.
Actually, they play Eye of the Tiger while it scrolls.
While the scroll is written the way Sylvester Stallone would say it.
Yeah. Actually, he does like a voiceover. Oh, God.
Oh, my God. It's
It's like, I want someone to do this. I want someone out there. I wish we had like artists that would, write, that listen to our podcast where they're like, oh, I should draw that,
That would be amazing.
Have Kylo Ren with that helmet on. He's so fucking jacked that he can't like put the helmet on. It's too tight.
I just want him to flip it around like an over the top. Switch it from front to back. Oh my God,
oh man,
that was good. How did Sylvester Stallone get into The Force Awakens?
I don't know, because of the montage I saw.
Oh right, okay, montage, right?
Yeah, the Rocky IV montage. That's all I could think about when he was like, I got to bring Kylo Ren because I got to complete his training. I was thinking to myself, oh dude, so Rey's gonna train with Luke and this dude's gonna train with, with Snoke. I was like, that's all I can think about.
Or it could be like the Karate Kid Part 3 montage.
Oh my God. Luke going like, wax off, wax on, or like.
Well, no. In the Karate Kid 3, remember in Karate Kid Part 3 where he's fighting that dude from.
Part 3.
Yeah, Part 3, because he's fighting that other guy.
Who's like a karate master, yeah.
Yeah, he's a younger kid, and then like it's Reese's best friend, the guy who looks like he's like Steven Seagal.
Right.
He's like fake training Daniel.
Yeah, right. Actually, he makes him into kind of a thug. He makes Daniel into a thug.
Do you know whose nose he breaks in Karate Kid Part 3?
No.
In that club?
I don't remember.
Take a guess.
Jeff Goldblum. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
It's Mitch from Real Genius.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's all you need is like, Rey drops her lightsaber and she bends down to get it, and then she like hits Kylo in the nuts. Like in every Karate Kid movie, there's some move that he teaches him. And the first the first one's the crane kick, and the second one is that move, but also the drums.
The drum, yeah,
which is so fucking stupid. I remember that. I'm just like, everyone's playing the drums, and he just starts swinging his hands back and forth. Side to side. What is that gonna do?
This is like the worst video game ever made by Sega Master System.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Daniel was just like mashing buttons. He's just like
The same button over and over again.
yeah. So you can't like get in there and try to hit him. He just
Yeah,
he gets blocked.
That literally is right. That's like somebody you play, because I hate fighting games. That's why. And they're just pressing the same button over and over again. They got you trapped in the corner, and you can't jump up because they're pressing the thing so fast. Yeah, they got you trapped in the corner, like all the way to the left, right? Because back then, video games had an ending. These fighting games now have like massive like endings in their levels. But
Right.
back then, if you got stuck in the corner, you were fucked. So they could actually beat you by bending down and just like jabbing at you if you got stuck in the corner. Just a fucking jab. And that's and so Daniel does the equivalent of you getting stuck in the corner, and he's beating you by kneeling down and jabbing at you.
That's all he's yeah, like the other guy, I've just been like, what are you doing?
And then in the third one, the other guy loses because he won't fight him because he's so confused that he's doing kata.
Right.
That he's basically just warming up, right? And he doesn't walk up to him and punch Daniel in the face right in the middle of fucking him warming up.
I'd have been like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
It's the equivalent of that YouTube video where the basketball team, like they're down by a point or whatever, and right out of the timeout, one of the kids gets down on all fours and starts barking like a dog, and the other team starts looking at him like, what the fuck? Why is this guy barking like a dog? And then they score the basket behind him. That's the Karate Kid 3 ending. That's the Karate Kid 3 ending. The kata is Daniel on all fours fucking barking, and then all of a sudden the guy's like, why is this guy barking in the middle of a karate fight? Right?
Oh my God.
In the middle of a karate tournament, Daniel's on all fours barking, and then he just gets up and punches the other dude in the face, and he fucking wins.
Like Ray is like nearly defeated, and Snoke's about to do the death blow, and she gets on all fours and starts barking, and then like Chewie comes out of nowhere and shoots him in the head
And rips both his arms off.
Yeah. Starts beating him with it. Credits. It's like, yeah. What are we gonna do? Then, like,
how are we gonna top this Karate Kid Sylvester Stallone
like,
movie?
JJ's like, God damn it, Ryan! You wrote me into a fucking corner. What am I gonna do?
I mean, fuck, Ryan. In one of the lines, you actually had Kylo Ren calling Snoke Mick.
Cut me, Mick. Come on. Oh God. That's so fucking stupid. Oh man.
And then at the end, Doc Brown shows up. That's how you get to the third movie. Doc Brown shows up.
He's like, come on,
in
Kylo.
In an X-wing with a garbage disposal on the top of it.
Come on, Kylo. We got to go back to the future. He's like,
remember the garbage disposal? That's how they got fuel.
Yeah.
So
that was like
imagine that on top of an X-wing.
Mr. Fusion.
Yeah, Mr. Fusion. Imagine Mr. Fusion on top of an X-wing. And Doc Brown gets out. And it's like, Kylo,
come on.
you gotta come with me to the future.
What, do we become assholes or something? He's like, no, you already are, but let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna prevent your son from being an asshole like you.
Yeah, your son's gonna kill you in your sleep because you're a Sith Lord, you dumbass.
and then that's when it's directed by George Lucas.
Yeah. Oh my God! All right.
And that's the Force Awakens.
And that is the Force Awakens
Ultimate Edition review. And like Jenna Malone, it was just as useless.
Yeah. Bullets and Jenna Malone.
We just bulleted and Jenna Malone's this entire Force Awakens review.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you guys liked what you hear, we're on patreon.com/chew on this podcast. Give us some money, sponsor us. We'll give you some free gifts and all that good stuff. And then, of course, Vic, we've got
West Coast Wawa. Hashtag West Coast Wawa. We've been trying for months to get them to even pay attention to this Twitter handle. I'm thinking it's almost a lost cause, but I'm not going to stop because we've done it for this long. And I'm gonna go with the retarded way of saying, like, it's not working. Let's just keep doing it.
Let's just double down.
let's double down and just keep doing it. They've already repoed the car. Let's repossess this house. So West Coast Wawa.
Hashtag West Coast Wawa. All right. Well, that was our Force Awakens
Ultimate Edition review.
Yeah.
Jenna Malone and bullets.
Rocky. God.
And Karate Kid.
And Karate Kid.
And Back to the Future.
All right. Well, that was episode 112 of Chew on This, a Nerd Unite podcast. I'm BJ.
Pick.
Until next time, folks, chew on that, and may the force be with you.
Later.